Alright then. Hello and welcome to MTA number 2. I'm Mosen, and this is episode 2 of the MTA. Today's topics are glancing blows hit rating. Do I actually have the crit that my character panel says? To reserve or not to reserve? And what guild to choose? So, we will try to do this quest here in the meantime. We need to kill this big ass centaur boss right here. And it's gonna be a shit show, I can already tell you. But yeah, we'll see. So, the first topic. Yesterday I've been talking with a guy that recently joined the guild. A friend, and we were talking about a little bit about gear and everything, and so we were talking about hit rating, and it turned out that he didn't know. Basically, like long story short, because this is a I don't want to ramble on for too long here. We were talking about hit rating and gear and everything, and then turns out when I told him, well, you're a human and everything, so you need like 6% if you're wielding a mace or sword, right, and blah. And he was like shocked, like, what do you mean? And he actually thought I was trolling him, right, because he didn't know that the 305 extra skill on maces and swords for human does actually give you crit a hit and reduce the glancing blows that you're dealing, or the damage reduction of them. And so, what is this? Target not in line of sight and it kills me? Nice scripts. Anyway, I told you, vanilla is too hard, I'm telling you. So, yeah, basically he didn't know, and I thought, well, new servers out, maybe. I was surprised that some people still didn't know it, and they were in our guild, and this is not meant as like anything offensive. I was just surprised, and I thought, yeah, well, it is a bit confusing. So I made a video on it here in like a very lengthy version, right? And so you can check it out. Basically what it comes down to, and this is also a question from Darrrowshire here on the video, is hit rating and glancing blows. So he asks, so glancing blows cannot crit. So if I were to have 10% crit as a warrior, I'd really only have 6% crit, since 4 out of the 10 attacks were glancing blows, meaning my crit really only gets reduced, because then he thinks, okay, there's 10 hits made, and then you roll, okay, this would have been a crit, but it's a glancing blow, sorry. But that's not how it works. But to understand that, how it works is really more, there are 10 hits, and you roll once, right? You roll dice once, and okay, it's a glancing blow. It couldn't have critted anyway, it's a glancing blow. Or you roll, okay, there's a hit, now you got a chance of a regular hit or a crit. So, but I'll get into this. I need to go back and talk about the hit rating and glancing blow really quickly. I'll try to make it as short as possible, I promise, because it is confusing. And if you want the whole picture and really understand really want to understand how it works, check the video that I made. But in general, there's hit rating and there's weapon skill. Hit rating basically means the chance to miss a raid boss. A raid boss counts as level 63 and has a certain defense rating, and you have a certain weapon skill. Now, glancing blows are a set value, right? There's, like, of all of your auto attacks, there's a 40% chance that it will be a glancing blow. That means you cannot really change the amount of glancing blows. What you can change, though, see, they're all not in line of sight. What is this? What you can change, though, is the damage reduction of the glancing blow. So, just to give you a quick idea about this, so against a raid boss, it depends on, you have 10%, 10% glancing blows baseline, and then it depends on the defense rating and the attack rating, or the hit weapon skill of yourself. So a raid boss has 315 defense rating, and all this like defense versus your weapon skill is the baseline for everything. So raid boss is 63, has a defense rating of 315, 5 per level, 63 times 5, so 315, and from that you subtract your weapon skill. That is usually, if you are non-human or whatever, it is going to be 300. So you just subtract 300 from 315, and the difference is 15, right? And basically the amount of glancing blows are determined by 10% baseline plus 2% times the difference. The difference is 15 times 2, 30 on top of 10. So against a raid boss, it's 40. Against a level 60 player, that would be 10% baseline, right? And so if the difference is the same, that would be it. But we're dealing with raid bosses here, and yeah, that's how it works. Okay, so if we got that straight, now you cannot reduce the amount of glancing blows that are happening, but the glancing blows is gonna have a penalty and reduce the damage done, and that's what you can reduce, or make better, if you will, if you are a human wielding mace or sword, or orc wielding axe, and that's what we're going to aim for. So how that works is you have a certain amount. I'm gonna put in the formula and the link so you can read up on it. As a rough rule of thumb, you can say basically 2%, 2 and something percent per difference of defense rating and weapon skill is the glancing blow reduction. So against a molten core, or like a raid boss, for example. What the fuck is going on? All right, I have to walk. So basically, Jesus, this is too hard. Word sucks. The difference would be 15, so you take that times 2.4 or so, and you should end up somewhere around like 35% penalty on the glancing blow. Now, if you have more, obviously the difference, if you have more weapon skill, the difference is less, and that means you take that times 2. And then, for example, as a human against a raid boss, the difference is only 10 instead of 15. Times 2 is 20%, so you have less penalty on the glancing blows. But the weapon skill of the ratios, for example, do not change the amount of glancing blows, right? Only the penalty you get from it gets a little bit, or it gets a little less worse, or less bad, or whatever, right? It gets a bit better. So then a glancing blow wouldn't be minus 35% damage like you would have on a difference of 15, but with 10 you would have like a different, or a penalty of, let's say, 20%, right? And as a general rule of thumb also, if you're at 310 weapon skill, you almost have, you don't really have much glancing blows anymore. As I said, it's everything is a little bit tricky to explain, because here on the website that I'm showing, there's a lot of stuff that you can read up on, and this actually helps to understand, and you can put in your values, for example, just to understand. Glancing blows 40%, can't change that. That's the amount against raid bosses. What you can change is the penalty with your weapon skill, and the more weapon skill you have, the less damage reduction you get from glancing blows. That still means, hey, this was a glancing blow, but you have so much weapon skill, so the penalty is 0, but still it can't crit. So 40% of your hits cannot crit as a melee. So this lets us get into the question, so you have a background, for the hit rating, that what I was talking about to the guy in the guild. He didn't know about the weapon skill impacting the hit rating. So I'm showing here the calculation formulas for this. What you gotta understand is there's 2 formulas, okay? And the one of the formulas comes into play if the difference between the mob's defense rating and your weapon skill is less or equal to 10, and one comes into play if it is greater than 10. Again, like, he didn't know He thought the hit cap is 9%, that's it. But here's the thing. If you are a non-human wielding some axe against a raid boss, again, defense skill is 315, then you just subscribe your weapon skill, which then would be 300, and the difference between 315 defense skill and your weapon skill 300 flat is 15. That means, since the difference is greater than 10, you pick the first formula, which then results in 9% hit that you need. Some say 8.6, it really depends on the server you're using. 8.6 still equals 9, basically. Just go with 9. And then you shouldn't miss with your main hand anymore. Now, if you are a human with a mace or sword, or an orc with an axe, the difference between the defense level of the raid mob 315 minus your weapon skill, which is then 305, is 10. Also, if you have more than 305. That means you use, as you can see, the other formula, because your the difference is less or equal to 10. So you get to use this formula. And then if you put in all the values, you end up at 6% hit needed. So it's a huge advantage. And just so everyone knows this, I have the feeling it's still a little bit of a secret, but yeah. This is basically the background for this question, and I think it's a really good information for everybody. That really, it's not a troll. He thought it's a troll, so I had to get in a friend to confirm that for me. And yeah, so 305 weapon skill really adds a lot of hit and really helps out with the glancing blows for you. Now, getting back to the question of the Brickashaw, if there are glancing blows, for example, and 4 out of the 10 attacks are 40% are glancing blows, and the raid boss, if you're standing behind him, has 6% dodge. That means 46 of your attacks cannot really are either going to glance the boss or he's going to dodge it. He cannot parry or block from behind, but he can still dodge. So no, this is actually not what it means. Like, your crit doesn't get less valuable because there are 40% glancing blows. Here's how it works. Like, you have 100 attacks and 46 of them are either glanced or dodged. But the rest that you have, if you have 0% crit, are going to be normal hits. Now, if you have 10% crit, that means 10 of those that are not glanced and dodged, 10 of those are going to crit, right? 10 of those, not 10% of the 40, but 10. And that's the important part. That's the important part to understand. Now, 46% is glancing or dodge. That means 54 would be left on the table that you can do. If you get 54% crit somehow, that would mean you have the glancing blows and the dodge, and everything else would be crits. And this is important to understand. And I know it's a bit theory crafty, but there you go. Like, this is how it works. Yeah. So don't fear, fear not, guys. Like, the crit is really, really strong. And I know for Fury Warriors you need a little extra hit for the offhand and rage generation and all that. But this came from a red paladin, so yeah, for red you get the 9% hit and you're good to go. All you need to do is stack the crit up, because you want to hit hard when you do hit. And then you're gonna see some big damage. Same for like two-hand Fury Warriors. So that's why two-hand Fury Warrior is good for leveling, and two-hand Fury Warrior is actually really good for for at the start. If you have really shit gear, you go two-hand Fury and you'll do a bit better, and then you can stack up more hits, etc. So I hope this clears out the question. If you have more questions to it, I know it's a bit tricky and a bit complicated. Leave a comment, I'll try to explain again, whisper me on Discord or in game. I'll gladly answer it. Alright. The next question comes from actually from a guildie as well, but from back in the day, and some Discord whispers where people asked me, what is the shit with reserve and not reserving. Now, here's the point. I get that a lot of people are probably really upset about this, and since there's a new server out already, I wanted to just address this really quickly, because obviously this might tilt some people. I get it that you know, some obviously at first sight it's not really understandable why someone would reserve if you are new to like any like classic servers and stuff, because to be honest, it tilts everyone, right? You wanna do like a dungeon group, and then someone says, well, this one is reserved, and this item is reserved as well, and then you think like, yeah, well, you know, why would anyone go with you? But if you're real, then the sad fact is, these groups still fill up, because like if someone reserves basically the cloak from, let's say, Baron Rivendare in Stratholme Undead, and you know you want that cloak as well, then he's gonna reserve it for him because he doesn't want to, you know, waste time and then do this run like 17 times and then it drops and then he doesn't even get it because he built the group, right? He's building the group probably like another, you know, probably he's been building groups for 4, 3, 5, 7, 8, 10 times, and of course, like if that stuff drops, he wants to have it for himself after he, you know, built guilds, groups 7 or 10 times, or maybe sometimes even 25 times. It just didn't drop. They at least wants to have the safety of you know, the item being his after he ran it 30 times or whatever, and that should be understandable as well. If you've, like me or other players, have played private realms for quite a while, then you would understand that you don't want to chase after an item so many times. And basically it's a simple thing. Now I don't want to I get the idea that if everyone would just not reserve stuff, people would still get, you know, the gear they want, but since nowadays everybody's min-maxing like crazy, like really like crazy, you need to have that cloak. Otherwise, like especially if you're a rogue, you won't get maybe into a raiding team. That's at least what a lot of people think. It's not actually that big of a deal. But if you don't have that cloak, then I might not be able to roll on other stuff that might be dropping in a raid. So people are really, really obsessed with chasing these items, and they need to have them in their opinion. And sure, it's a good cloak, there's alternatives, but they want that one item. And if you've done it 20 times and you think, hey man, I'm just reserving this. If this item drops, it's mine. If you guys want to come along, you know, you're invited. And that's what a lot of people I think don't really understand, because these people are not trying to, you know, take anything away from you, but they're building a group and it's on their terms. And if you don't want to join that group, in that case, you know, if you don't like it that they reserve that item, don't join it, right? Don't join it and build your own group. And I've heard this for so many times. I can't build groups. I'm not really good at it, but just give it a try. I mean, it's not really that hard. You just start doing it, and if once you've built 3 to 4 groups, you get the hang of it, and you will see that it's not really that hard. So my tip is, I know it's annoying, and I've gotten annoyed by it too. Like, this one is reserved, this item's reserved, and sometimes there's like 3 items reserved. The reality is though that sometimes, for example in Strat Live, you know, some people just want to go in there for the quest and they don't care about any item yet because they're still leveling or something. And then you can understand, okay, well he will fill his group. He wants the orbs, right? And he reserves the orbs that drop there. And so, but a lot other people want to do the quest. So it's you know, it's fair. Like, I want this item. You guys can do the quests. I can help you along. Do you want to group? And if the people say it, if there's a demand for it, these groups will actually go and happen. And you can't really blame people for doing it if it works, right? If it's, I know, as I said, I know it's annoying sometimes, but if you don't like it, then don't do it yourself, and it's a fantastic thing to do. You know, just don't do it yourself and build your own groups where you say, hey, we're playing here, and you know, if anything drops and you need it, then we all need on it. Or, and this is the best tip, don't pug. Just go with your guild, because yes, pugging, you know, this is the thing. You can't really complain about someone reserving it. You don't really have to join his group. It's a pug. He can, you know, there's always struggle. You never know what you're getting into. And, you know, my advice would just be either make your own groups and find people you enjoy playing with, or join a guild, right? just join a guild and do all the runs in your guild. And if there's no one online at this moment, either change the guild or just wait, do something else in the meantime. Don't frustrate yourself going with pugs. Just wait until like guildies are online, for example, and you'll have a much better time playing WoW. Alright, and I think that goes pretty well into the next topic, which would be... This is getting a lengthy one already. I wanted to keep these short, so the next ones will probably be much shorter. What guild to join, right? And this is also a topic where we can keep that a little bit shorter. We can go into it. If you guys have any questions regarding guilds, or what could be best for you, or whatever, just post it in the comments. I'll answer it. And let's just say, from my experience, there's been sometimes what I've seen as a guild leader, for example, is that people want to, join a guild, and sure, when you ask them or they whisper you, hey, can I join in? And yeah, I want to raid too. And what I've seen is that sometimes what people think raiding is in vanilla is not necessarily what they thought it would be. Meaning, you would expect, hey, cool, now I'm 60 and I got like 5 blue items and now I'm gonna go and raid, right? And then they're in the raid and then they post the item because they want, something drops and they want it and it's an epic, and then they get like really surprised that they didn't get it because, well, there were people that have much better gear and have it enchanted and everything, and it's like, well, this is unfair because we had actually some guy leaving, like, the guild because it was his first raid, and then like a Doom's Edge dropped in Blackwind there, and this is like a trash axe it's nothing rare. Like every raid you get like 3 of them, right? But he didn't know, so it dropped and he didn't get to roll because it was his first raid and was a recruit, and so yeah, he got like really pissed, I guess, that he didn't get to roll. But as said, it was his first raid, and for us it was clear there was going to be another like 3 of those dropping this raid, and he would get one anyway. But like we got the rules that some other guys in the guild much longer, and he would have his weapon enchanted already. That's obviously he's gonna get it over the other guy. And so that's just one example of what guild to join. And then we also had to realize that things that are obvious to us might not be as obvious to others. And that's really, really apparent when it comes to like consumables. So some guilds actually require you to get every world buff for every raid, every week on every raid day, right? You get all the world buffs, you get fully consumabled to the dungeon, and you're on time. And it's the same example like with the Serpent Sting, right? I know guilds where hunters got instantly kicked when the raid lead found out that someone used the Serpent Sting on them, because you can't do it. And if you don't know it, you get kicked. And then there's guilds that they don't really progress that much in raids. They're like, this is next patch and they're still in start of AQ, and but they have a great community, so it's really up to you. And I think this question reached me actually from a friend that asked me where you should go, and he doesn't really want to play super hardcore. But then again, like what is hardcore for me are the people that go onto test realms to practice the next raid that's coming out on a private realm, and then they would do that on a test realm or private or public test realm for 2 months, so that they could clear the raid that's coming out on a private realm the night it comes out. And that's hardcore for me. Or if you get all, if all world buffs are required and all consumables are required, every raid for everything, and if you don't have it, you get penalties and everything. And then you go, after that, you do alt raid on Horde side with the same people that join over, and they have Horde characters as well, and all that stuff. That's hardcore to me. And you camp world bosses, and you're in the fucking Ungoro Mafia, and you basically spend all waking moments in this game. And then for other people, what we do might already be too hardcore. That's what we found out, because we thought, well, you just have to be consumable enchanted, and listen up on Discord. And for some people, that's already too hardcore, right? And you got to show up 2 days a week of the 3 that we have. And so I thought this is a good topic because someone asked me, and so there's, you know, obviously more social guilds, but really, like, if you're trying to you know, find a guild, ask before. This guy deals a lot of damage with. Ask them before, you know, how many raid days, what do you guys expect? That's a good question to ask. Like, what do you guys expect me to do? Do you expect me to get all world buffs completely every time and, you know, completely enraged with farming? Or are you guys at least like a little bit laid back? And because that will clear, you know, it will actually avoid misunderstandings. What are these mobs? Help! Ugh. Broken. Vanilla too hard. So yeah, it will clean out a lot of the misunderstandings that might come up, and ask for loot systems as well, right? And even just, and a really basic tip, even if stuff doesn't work out, like the first 1 or 2 raids, or you join in a guild and then like some of those guys is being a douche to you, it's 40-man raids, there's always some random asshole in the guild, and you know, sometimes just don't quit on the first occasion. Give it a shot, give it like at least a month, unless you see, okay, this guild is obviously completely toxic, or there's stuff that I absolutely cannot bear 1 minute. But just give it a couple of weeks, right? Just give it a couple of raids to see how it actually is, because you might join and then all of a sudden they have like 1 bad raid, and then the next time there's something else going on, but then it's going, you know, you just happen to join at a really bad moment. And sometimes if you just talk, like something's not going well and maybe you get flamed in 1 raid, just ask the raid lead, hey, did I do anything wrong? And then he says, well, yeah, you didn't have any consumables, we kind of want you to have that. Then everything clears up and you can say, okay, I didn't know that. So thanks for the heads up, and then you can still decide, okay, I want to do this, I don't want to do this. But anyway, I think this sums it up. It's gotten a lengthy one because of this hit and glancing blow. It's you can't get into this quickly, I guess. It's always a big topic. Just ask me questions if you have them. I'm gladly answering them. So there's people vacuuming above me now, and so I think it's a good time to end this one. But thanks for watching for the MTA number 2. Keep the questions coming, even if like at the moment it's more like on private messages, but don't be afraid to post it as a comment. It's no problem, even if you know me or whatever. I'd gladly answer it. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.